The importance of setting goals with Darlene Whitehurst. I have Darlene with us out of her busy schedule. She came with us to talk today about goals. Now, you probably know Darlene from Goalfriends, but we'll get to that in a little while. I want to learn about the woman behind the idea of goal setting with a different twist on it. Like, it's not New Year's, so why are we even talking about goals anyway? So welcome to the show, Darlene. I have so many questions for you. I hope you're ready.
Hey, Diane, thank you for having me. This is like my most fun topic, so I'm always ready.
Oh, perfect. Well, the first thing I really would like you to share with all of us is what interested you in the topic of goals to start with and their importance? Like, how did you start to realize that that was something that was so important?
I thought you'd never ask. So when I was in my 30s, I'm 60 now. I just had my 60th birthday. When I was in my 30s, I started realizing just from studying and being involved and studying Brian Tracy, that's where I started. I started realizing the effects of goal settings and truly, and I don't like to use this cliche word of manifesting, but so because I have a little scientific brain, so I started realizing how goal setting worked. And I was manifesting things that was happening. So I went actually to a bookstore. We didn't have Google then. I went to the bookstore to research, and all I could find were SMART goals. So I kind of looked at the methodology of SMART goals, and then that led to Goalfriends one day. We'll talk about that in a minute. One of the things that I'll say just on the front end is goal setting is often overlooked. The power of goal setting is where you start with anything.
Right. So a lot of people who listen to the show are visionary types, or they're the creative,
Yes.
and it's really easy to get so big and then kind of get lost in it all. And so what's a good starting point if somebody's got this idea or this vision and they're like, oh, maybe I do need to set goals. Do I even have goals set? Where would somebody start?
Well, first of all, if you're a visionary, it's kind of downloaded, so you go backwards. So that's a separate situation. But you have to have systems, and you have to have inspiration and motivation. So what I tell women in Goalfriends, start with a bucket list. Sometimes all you have are your dreams. Start there, and then you start breaking it down into small steps, which are your goals. You have to get clear. What I tell women all the time is clarity equals confidence, and confidence is empowering. Once you get clear with your idea or your vision or what you want your life to look like, that's empowering. You get clear and you just start with simple steps. And one of the biggest things I say is, you know your dreams better than anyone. So get them on paper. There's something called the generation effect. Instead of something happening to you, it has to happen through you. You have to embody it. So if you start writing it down, you're going to start embodying it, and that gives you a system.
Exactly. Like, it happens through us. And so many people are so caught in that outside world of it's happening to me. And I'm like,
Right.
Well, it's really coming through us. So your life, I always say, is a reflection of your most primary inner thoughts and the way you're doing life. And so it's so important to really be clear on that. Very clear on that.
Exactly. I think when we're talking about visionaries, it's a different bird, because visionaries, it does come through us. Something's usually downloaded. You get this vision, you get this inspiration, and then you're right. What do you do with it? You got to start getting clear. How you have to map it out.
Right.
But it's usually this symbiotic flow of that. What goal setting does is just gives you guardrails. And I want to talk about something really important, because it's usually the most missed information of goals. Most people don't know the difference between a dream, a goal, and a to-do list. Simple little things like that help you really refine where you're going and how you're going to get there. So a dream would be like a vision. It's this big aspiration of vision, what you're aspiring to do. A goal are usually simple steps. It's a methodology to get there. So there are steps to your dreams. And then a to-do list are tasks. I get asked that all the time. A to-do list is just a task of go to the grocery store. You can have some tasks to your goals, but your tasks are a task list of things you want to get done in a day that sometimes you merge with your goals. Your goals and your dreams, I try to keep separate.
So a lot of people, from your definition, confuse dreams and goals.
Yes.
Do you find that in the people that you work with, that they're kind of mixing that up?
Yeah, what I found is I work with a lot of entrepreneurial women that are superstars, but they've never set a goal. They just have a vision to do something, start a business, but they don't have methodical goals, which I found shocking when I started working in the community. Because I was like, but then I had to process it that they're very linear type of goals, like get out of high school, go to college, get married, have children, build a business, retire, get a beach house.
Right.
Get off to college. And then when I came in and said, well, what about your peripheral goals? What about writing a book? You're still doing all these linear things getting you through life. But what about what you want? Because, you know, as a mother, sometimes you can get derailed in what everybody else wants. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so you have these dreams, and your dreams should be, you know, go on a girls' trip, build a business, ride a camel, whatever it is, climb a mountain. You have these dreams that you want to do, these things you want to accomplish, like a bucket list, but then your goals are methodical to get you there.
Oh, I love that. And I think a lot of people do kind of blend them or don't really pay attention to that part. And then I have some people I'm listening to, and I have some people I'm working with that they like to call their to-do list their goals. Like, this is my goal of the day, is to go to the grocery store and do this. And I'm like, well, that's not the goal. That's just what you're doing to get to the bigger picture goal. That has to be reasonable and time efficient and work with what you're doing. So it's very interesting that you should say that. I'm glad you shared that. So I know that you are the science geeky person and you love to research and know stuff. You know, you're definitely a visionary, but you're also really into understanding the neuroscience and the brain stuff and how it works. Like, we could go on forever about that. And so give us a little bit of the science behind the importance of setting goals. Like, why does it even matter scientifically or brain wise? Because I think it's great to talk about, because I go, but wait a second, there's more to this. It's deeper. And we don't only set goals on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, or our birthdays ending in zeros. So give us a little bit of the science that you know.
So, favorite topic. First of all, resolutions don't last. They have about an 8% chance. And by about January 19th, most people have aborted most of the resolutions because there's not a goal set, a system, some timelines and action steps. But the neuroscience behind it, first of all, I'll tell you a simple thing. Writing down a goal, you have a 42% better chance of accomplishing it. If you just put pen to paper, remember, generation effect, you have to generate it through you. Sharing a goal, you have a 65% chance of accomplishing it. Having an accountability partner, which is what Goalfriends does, is you have this sustainable, accountable, measurable system and rhythm. You have a 95% better chance. So I used to say to somebody, okay, you can think it in your head and process it, but if you write it down, share it, and have an accountability partner, you have almost 100% chance of doing it. That's neuroscience. That's a fact. That's neuroscience. That's a statistic. Also, when you share in your brain, obviously you have dopamine, these neurotransmitters. When you share, you get more excited about it. So you're going to get a dopamine dump. I call it gulpamine. You get this gulpamine dump, and you have this emotional contagion that goes along with it. You get on this vibe of the goal. You start entangling with it, and it starts to carry you. So I kind of get really geeky about it, but I really love that part because it's not just trite, set the goal. It's not just like perfunctory. It is really, there is a system and neuroscience along with it.
Oh, see, that's magical. And I think that the people who are successful with writing goals down and having accountability people that kind of fall into that, they don't really realize that's what they're doing. And they're successful are really living in alignment with what science tells us and what neurology tells us and what spirit tells us about how to do it. That it needs to be everybody harmonized, headed in the same direction with focus, right? So what do you do in your own life to take care of you? What do you do for your own stress relief? You're out there helping people all the time. You're a visionary. There's so much in your life. And what does Darlene do on a personal level for Darlene?
That's a great question. I have to. I'm a natural introvert. And so I take long baths and I read and I sit in prayer and meditate. I have a candle right now. I have to have a sacred space so that I can refuel and download. I have to know what's coming. What am I trying to do at this point? Because with my goal of trying to share and inspire reach of particularly women coming together and supporting each other in their dreams and goals, it does take a lot. And you're right. You're giving, and any visionary is holding a space. We have broad shoulders, and we're holding a vibration to make it work. You can tell if you let it down, the vision goes down, So I have to have a lot of alone time and baths, and some days just nothingness days, not a big Netflix or whatever, but just breathe, and refuel. I mean, it's very deliberate that I'm having a refuel day so that I can come back full, fill up my cup, and embrace it.
That's great advice. I think a lot of people think that visionaries are supposed to keep going. And no, that we have to take care of ourselves along the way and rest and refuel in the best way that works for us. I love baths too. That's what gets me going. Just light my candles, give me a break. And because my introverted self is I need time to myself through all of this. I love helping and giving and doing things with people. And my refueling time is by myself.
Yeah. And introverts can't go, I can entertain and I'm fun and have friends at my house all the time. People come through town and stay over. COVID's a little bit different, but after about 3 or 4 days, I just have to have a refuel day. And I think we have a certain amount of energy to expend, and then we have to pull it in. Whereas extroverts get all their energy from outside. Leaving them alone for a day is treacherous.
Right. Anything could happen to them. In fact, I had dinner with a friend of mine last night who was an extrovert. She goes, this has been the hardest thing ever in my life, having to be home all the time, even though she loves her husband and gets to connect some on Zoom. It's no people. And so we found a place we could go and sit outside and kind of feel safer and all of that. And she's like, oh my God, a person.
I know. Energy. So that we have to go inward, but they are starving for energy.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, good, I get to stay home. And she's like, I can't stay home.
Just off topic, when COVID hit, I said, because remember, it was 2 weeks. My 2 weeks, now we're almost a year, but it's the first 2 weeks, I'm like, I can sit and read. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't bad at first.
Right. It's because, good, I get a break. Yes.
Yeah.
Now it's okay, now what are we doing? Hold on a second here.
Let's get goaling.
Right. So now goals can be started at any time, right? I hear I have a client who is very gifted. All my clients are gifted. And one of the things he always says is, I have to have the numbers line up, or it has to be a certain day. And he puts a lot of overthinking into the externals, yet refuses to do the writing down and do the internals. And so there's always a disconnect, and he really struggles. He doesn't make the goals because he's not actually following a procedure that flows, right? And how does overthinking, or the people who want to really wrap it in their head and not really do the other part, how do you help somebody like that? What would you tell them to do other than put the pen in their hand and say, here?
Well, I think, and I'm a processor as well, why I gear up. Some people gear up, but you got to get started. Yeah, I just posted something today that said it's the start that stops you. So an easy way is to get everything down on paper, what you think you might want, even if you're just processing random thoughts, like a bucket list. Put everything out there, and then take one thing and start making a little system with it. It's so easy. It shouldn't be. Inspiration comes within, but motivation comes without. It comes it's outward. So when you get inspired, or you're thinking or trying to get clear, get it on paper. Right. I can't impress enough. It's like your dream pen. Your brain, it has a reticular activating system. So it has a natural GPS, just like you say, hey, Siri, take me here. Mm-hmm. If you put that, we're a supercomputer. If you put that information in your brain, and I would couple it with seeking you shall find, asking you shall receive. Mary spirit, that Mary spirit and that vibration. But I really implore people to get it on paper. It's such a simple thing. And then keep writing a day at a time. Even if you write the same things, I want this. Answer that question. What do you want? And then you get to how you're going to get there, some simple steps. But it's more about embodying the power of it that you can do it, but you really do have to start. And I know once you write it down, you have to take action on something, but clarity comes first. Get clear, even if it's throwing one thing at the wall until it sticks. Get clear on something and then watch it happen. And it's empowering and it'll motivate you neurologically. It'll motivate you to do more. Also, there's this new science out, obviously, neuroplasticity, where I always say, get in the groove. Get in the groove. Even vision boards, visioning, writing still changes those pathways in your head, and you'll start embodying it.
Right. So I think science is finally putting out there information that adds to what a lot of people who've been doing it in the spiritual way have known for years. And that is when we bring it all together, our mental self, our emotional self, our spirit self, and our heart, and we bring it all together and we get everybody in alignment, heading in the same direction or at least close, then things really change toward whatever the goal is. And so what if somebody changes their mind? Like they write it all down and they think it's going to be really cool. And then they start and they change their mind. What about that?
Let me address that. It's my friend. I have a word for that. So the objective when you set down a goal, you want to reach the goal, right? But you do change your mind, you evolve. I call it when you change your mind, either divert or give it a goalectomy and take it off your list.
Goalectomy, I love it.
Give it a goalectomy. I'm writing a little premium book right now called Goalosophy. You reap what you goal. That's why goals matter. You reap what you goal. But I have these words. One of those words is if you evolve, if a goal, particularly if it's weighing you down. All right, so with women in the women's market, if we don't lose that 5 pounds, it will be disastrous. So sometimes take it off your list. Give it a goalectomy. Don't lose focus on the other things that you want in life. Don't get stuck and let it weigh you down. If it's not in flow, let it go. Give it a goalectomy. It doesn't mean you failed the goal. You own the goals. They're your goals. You have the option. Be empowered to change your goals. You don't fail them. You just change them.
Yeah, I always say reserve the right to change your mind.
Yeah.
And I think that that's true. And I love what you said about the fact that we're always evolving. And so if we're evolving, it could be like this really great goal right now today. I could be talking to you and go, Darlene, this is really what I want to do. And then I could start down that path and then go, well, wait a second. And something else could show up, or that could no longer really excite me. And that doesn't mean I'm bad or wrong or messed it up. It just means I've evolved and I'm seeing something going another way.
That's human nature. Mm-hmm. It's human nature to want certain things, even in a relationship. You break off a relationship. Sometimes you have to ungoal. You have to break up with your goal. It's okay. It is not a failure because all your dreams and goals are stepping stones to get you somewhere. The most important part about it is get serious and methodical about it. It's not homework. It doesn't have to be arduous. It's not arduous. It should be electric. It should be like goaltastic. It should be fun. See through this lens of opportunity of what you can do in life and what's available to you and what you can create. You're co-creating in this world. But if you evolve, you'll go on to something else because your brain will just take you there. Don't look at it as a failure. You own your goals. That's empowering. So setting goals is empowering. And there are a lot of people say resolutions for that matter. When people set 40 resolutions and you don't have a plan for it, you don't have a system, that's why they all go away. It's all jumbled up and it's a mess. So you just have to, if you change your mind, let it go, focus on 1, 2, or 3, one at a time, one simple, imperfect step at a time.
Right. And when I'm listening to you, I'm what's coming to my mind are the words like self-love, self-compassion, like self-acknowledgement, like acknowledging ourselves for who we are and totally being okay with messing it up, doing it great, stumbling. That's why we have accountability and people with us, so that if we're not going to be perfect, it's not a linear path.
No.
And as I'm listening to you, that's what I keep thinking of is that embodiment of self-compassion and love, and still having a focus of where we're going. It doesn't mean be lazy. It means love myself on the journey.
Exactly. It doesn't mean be lazy if you don't do it and be perfect if you do it. It's just a guide. It will absolutely help you if you again, it's really, really hard, again, in the women's market for women to say, answer the question, what do I want? Because we're nurturers. Men are much more strategic. It's a little bit easier for men once you decide what you want to perform and you take action, be strategic. But it should be a fun meandering through life. For me, with the exception if you're going through a dark time or some, you're just going through a time. For me, it's electric. It's like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Well, visionaries are like that, bright, shiny objects. What can we do next? Sometime before you're finished, you're on to the next thing.
Right.
But if you have these things documented, you've already implanted them in your brain. So your brain is already working on that and it will work for you.
Mm-hmm. Right. It does. I write down, I'll be journaling and I will write down all these ideas or these things that come to mind or these one-liners of like, oh, that would be a good interview or that would be a good this or whatever it is. And then pretty soon, and I'll put it down and then I'll find that paper later and I'll go, oh, I did all those. And I didn't even really notice. It just happened because I plugged it into my body and my system and it called it in and then I did it. And so I laugh about how when we stay in the flow that way, it's magical on both sides, the download, and then as it happens.
That's the part I love. I'll do the same thing because I write so much. And in my downtime, if you slow down enough, it will come to you. Get creative. And then I'll find it later after I've reproduced it 8 other times. I'm sure you've done it before.
Yes.
Always. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I already did this. I did this months ago. Yeah, you're right. You've implanted it.
I've done that where I've written part of a book and then it got saved to the cloud and I didn't know that's where it was. And then I couldn't find it. So I started writing the book again, the idea again. And then that idea, actually the computer crashed and about the first 1,000 words was gone. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, let's do it again the third time. And then I found the version in the cloud that had like 5,000 words and actually was better written than what I was doing. I already did it.
That's right. The original vision.
All right. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, here we go. We'll just start here.
Don't you love that? I do it all the time. And with visionaries, and I think this is so fascinating because visionaries, you almost get downloaded a vision and then sometimes we'll run all the way around. You know how it goes. You run around, you change it, and you will come right back to the original vision. And it was perfect. Mm-hmm. Have you ever found that?
Yes. And so, which I always say to my people, just trust it. Trust the vision. Yeah. Even if you don't see how it's going to happen or the timing or if or anything, trust it because in there are all the answers and all the revelations, but we have to trust it and have faith in it so that it can emerge in a way that we can understand it and see it. Otherwise, we're going to miss it because we're going to be looking everywhere else other than, within for the answer.
It's a critical process, even with goals. When you have a vision or have a dream or have a goal too, self-doubt's going to come in because we have this inner roommate that lives within us that says, I can't do that. That can't happen. And you just have to just override it. Just stay. 3 favored words, stay the course. Mm-hmm. You might give it a goalectomy if you don't want it, but you'll be staying the course. Just as you said, trust it. Trust the vision. Trust the big guy. Trust the plan.
Right. Exactly. Totally. So let's talk a little bit about Goalfriends and how you started it and where you see it going in the future. Tell everybody about it. The moment I heard about it and you first told me about Goalfriends, I was totally fascinated. I think it's amazing. And I really would love everybody to hear it from you, the creator of it and the passion behind it. Well,
thank you. It's, I started it. It was almost, there's the saying, I think I wrote it actually, but sure. Before there's a vision, there must be a void. And as I was studying SMART goals and watching what was happening in my life at 33, when I finally realized this power of how simple it was, I went to a meeting one night and watched women were sharing and carpooling and whatnot. And I was looking for a place, an audience to share the power of this magic because to me it was magical. So I had this aha moment. I said, what if I brought women together specifically to share in their dreams and goals together and support each other? And that's it, to celebrate each other, to share with each other, specifically come in, start with a bucket list. And so Goalfriends is a community-based It's held in groups online where women actually come together. Nobody's selling anything. They're supporting and collaborating with each other, and you have that sustainability and that accountability. So it was organic. I started with a little teeny book that I wrote over the weekend just to share the power of goal setting. And it was a little journal. And then women kept asking for more. What do I do now? It morphed into 36 modules. And it's right now it's in 14 different countries. And it's online. And we now have a Goalfriends Foundation. So my big focus this year, it's getting ready to go into the prison system. My big focus this year is to really serve the underserved with it.
Beautiful.
But yeah, my goal is just to inspire and reach the masses. That's what I was called to do.
I love it. I love it. And so it brings women together to help them with something that's not always comfortable or trained or taught to them. And then the ones who can do it, and you gave them a structure. So when you have a structure, like a system, right, it's increases success. So I bet you see amazing goals being attained and amazing confidence being brought up in people, along with visions showing up that, are probably doing a lot of good for the world. So how does that feel for you to have been this person who had an idea, searched for the result, and now not only are helping all the women all over the world, but going into the underserved populations that really need it even more? Like, how does that feel for you?
What a great question. Because as most visionaries are always looking forward, it was just during COVID, because I'm always moving forward, just during COVID that I really started reflecting back. And I was watching humbly speaking, I was watching the collaboration and the magic and the books that were being written and the businesses started, and the collaboration between the women of starting things. I don't think I really stopped for a while to take it in, because I was so humble about it. I wasn't trying to be the founder of anything. I have a marketing and branding company, president of a marketing and branding company for 21 years. This was just my give back. But now I look at it like, God, this is amazing. I look at these women and what they've done. So how I feel about it is humbled, ever so humbled, and shy about it a little bit. The underserved market is just a good fit for me, because we have a lot more advantages in life than underserved people. My mom was a single mom for a while, and she waitressed, and she made it work. So at least I know where I came from. I was raised just above the poverty line for a little while, and she could have used these tools. Mm-hmm. So it would have helped her. That was one of my main reasons for doing this. But yeah, it feels like a well done, good and faithful servant, for lack of a better word.
Yes. And when you made the comment that it was your give back, it is a give back. Yeah. It's a paying it forward give back. And you used your talent and ability to create a system and a paradigm that could be easily digested by people, and a roadmap. So I think that's really beautiful. So thank you for that level of service and for taking Goalfriends into the prisons and doing things, because it's so important. And so thank you.
So necessary. Thank you. Thank you.
I have one last question for you, but before I ask you that question, is there anything on your heart that you wanted to share that I have not covered?
For lack of, not in promoting Goalfriends, but what I would want to say is one of the reasons I'm trying to change the paradigm of women is because women serve everyone else, and they don't get a chance to decide what they want. In a sense, it's a hard question for women, but there is no easier way than gathering with some girlfriends and doing this, and serve yourself, own you, decide what you want, because you're going to be a better everything on the outside of that. I think that is the ultimate message. As I said, whether you do a Goalfriends program, a mastermind, find somebody, find a tribe, find a few friends just to share and collaborate together and grow.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad you shared that. Thank you. So your last question is, if there was going to be a billboard that I was going to put up and the whole world was going to see this billboard with Darlene Whitehurst's quote on it, what would that billboard say?
Specific to Goalfriends?
To anything, to life.
That's a great question. I would say follow your calling.
I love that.
If you're inspired, follow your calling.
Follow your calling. I love that. I love that one. So everybody, that's a good, very good one. So follow your calling from Darlene Whitehurst. So you have been listening to Darlene Whitehurst. And if you're really vibing with what she's saying and you're going, oh my God, it's amazing, you can go to the show notes and find all the ways to contact her and follow her and learn more about her, because her bio will be there too. Because there's much more to Darlene than this short conversation. We could probably do 10 of this size interviews and still not cover the amazing things that she's bringing to the world, because she knows how to set goals. So if you want to learn how to set goals, and especially if you're a woman really wanting to bring a sense of community together, check out Goalfriends. It's really amazing. So Darlene, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for answering all my questions. And most importantly, thank you for the work you're doing in the world.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. It's a really special time.
Thank you. So remember, everybody, to put your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star and you're here on purpose with a purpose. So go out there and let your light shine and be the brilliant you that you're meant to be. And until the next episode of Someone Gets Me, be well.